Abu, so I have here this package that arrived a couple of days ago.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, so I want to, just show it to you and you explain to the viewers of the concept and everything. 'Cause this is a really cool gift from EA, and I know it's a way to promote your game that's coming up. So here it goes. So first of all, who came up with this artwork right here, man? Because this is incredible right here. This looks sick. This looks really good, man.
Yeah, it's cool, huh? That's essentially, that's again a mixture of our team as well as like EA's creative team. Like they really kind of went to town. That was one of the things that I remember talking to the EA creatives about, was like, look, we want to be loud, we want to be proud. Like, just go for it, man. Like, go for, don't go for the conventional sort of game style kind of look and cool. Like, let's be artistic here. Let's make it look almost like a graffiti art kind of thing. It's pure, it's honest, it's innocent, it's real. Like, that's essentially where we were leading in with.
So now let's open it inside.
Yeah, please.
Sneak peek, but I want to show it to the viewers.
All right, cool.
So let's see. We got the letters here. Thank you and everything. Really cool. Now, this is something that I was not expecting. So I know that your team worked on this. And actually, that was you that signed inside, right?
Yep, I did sign
inside. That's you? All right, cool. Yep. Thank you, man. So in here, how this relates to the actual game? Is this like a side story? Is this like a...
It is. So it's set. The comic is essentially set just before the game begins. This is this is a memory that Zuberi kind of plays with, and like something that we were really keen about as well was we wanted to ensure that the whoever orders or pre-orders the game, or whoever gets it, right, they can understand what's going on. It doesn't have to just be in English, or so we were like, let's just not do any dialogue boxes. Let's just tell a story through pictures. So that's essentially where it comes from, and it's essentially it's all about Zuberi, reliving a memory essentially of his father before the game starts.
Do all shamans get shrines?
Yeah, it's beautiful artwork.
Thank you, man. And the art was all done by a Botswanan artist as well. He was really cool, man.
Nice. And now we also have the keychain.
The keychain can't go wrong with a keychain, man.
This is especially me, man. I have a lot of keys. This is really good to have. Now this is really cool too, man. And now, wasn't important to have a keychain. Wasn't important for you guys to have one.
I mean, it's one of those. You just need one, man. You just need a keychain. You can't go wrong with a keychain.
That's true. All right, so we have now. Before I show the big one, this one's I think was really cool too, because I know you guys had an announcement a couple weeks ago. So how you guys came up with the concept of like designing this
again
for the controller?
It was really kind of going across the idea of like looking at the masks, what they represent, and looking at Zhao, like, so that middle bit, of course, being the purple vibe of Zhao, but then looking at the fiery sun and the sort of the cold moon, like that's essentially how we wanted to play with it. We didn't want it to be too, again, it's colors, it's vibrancy, it's alive, and that's essentially where we came up, what we wanted to lead with and where we wanted to play with, man. And so it
stands out a lot, because I grew up with graffiti in New York City, and that's something that I love. I love seeing that, man. That bright colors. Man,
honestly, I'm so glad, because it's one of those ones where it's like we just, again, in order to kind of stand out, like, we had to be kind of loud, right? And we had to kind of also be honest and truthful. And that's essentially how we wanted to do that through everything, through the game, through the art that we do, and even through the, you know, the gifts that we're given as well.
Now, the last one, this is the main one right here, bro.
Yeah, man.
This is beautiful. Like, we have a lot of cool, unique stuff that we always have in the living room. This is definitely gonna be in our living room, man. In our house.
Man,
this is
I
very,
love
very
it.
beautiful. My wife is gonna be freaking out when she sees this. Like, oh my
Yeah,
god,
man.
this is awesome. So you guys made 120 of these.
Yeah.
This is 76 out of 120. So thank you so much for for this, man. So again, why was it important to have this mask part of the package for the 120 people around the world that got this, man?
Man, it was just like, again, it's the whole thing. It's like it was handcrafted by a Ghanaian artist, and for me, you know, the sun mask represents life. So for me, that's what's important as well, is to show life, is to give life, and that's essentially what I feel like I've been given a lot of life through this whole process. So that's why we wanted to make it the sun mask, you know. So, and especially within, you know, as I say, like, African cultures, the sun is normally seen as that of a life giver. So yeah, that's why we wanted to share that, man. So yeah.
I cannot stop. I will not stop. Kalunga, God of death, hear my plea. Kalunga, God of death, come to me. Show me you are ready.
This is dope. This is really cool, man. So let's talk about the game. Talk about the game, man. And actually, I watched your little short documentary that came out a couple days ago, man. Think? It was good, man. It was very deep. It reminded me a lot of me growing up as a kid.
Right.
Because I also have a lot of old videos. You know, I see, you know, my family, grandmother, my cousins, everybody, my dad, mom too. So now, one thing that really, once I saw that video, it reminded me also of my grandmother, because she's not a gamer, but she was the one that actually got me my first Atari. The 2600, my first video game console, and that was the console that actually changed my life for me. Now, for you, what was the console and the game that actually like converted you to be a big time gamer for you as a kid?
So I would say, so my first console was like the Mega Drive. That's the first thing that I can remember, right? The Sega Mega Drive. But I would say the game that really kind of made, like, the game, or the, you know, that changed me into a game or made me respect video games as a whole, has to be Kingdom Hearts, like, on the PS2. I'd say, like, that's where I really realized, like, okay, games mean something different. They're powerful. They're something great. They're strong. Like, the stories that they can tell are really potent. And I think that's where, you know, that came from, man. Like, I'd say, you know, I mean, I've been playing games, you know, even way before then as well, with other games as well, like on the Game Boy or whatever but I'd say, like, really Kingdom Hearts made me fall in love with the artistry of games. And I say, like, you know, that's the one thing that I've always loved about them, is the artistry of it all.
Yeah, and what was the game that inspired you to work on your current project, which is coming out in a couple of days, by the way, Tales of Kenzera Zao?
Yeah, man. I'd say, like,
it's amazing, man.
Thank you, man. Like, I'd say the one that inspired me, it's funny. So the thing that gave me the kind of the jolt, or the light, the light bulb moment, was I was playing Ori and the Blind Forest on my Switch, and there's a moment with the waterfall moment, the whole sort of chase sequence, which I struggled so hard with, man. I struggled so much, and when I actually was able to complete it, oh man, the feeling of elation, the feeling was amazing. And I remember thinking to myself, okay, I haven't actually felt this kind of feeling of, like, you know, of sort of being, you know, proud of myself of completing something since the last time I played, like, Sonic with my father. And, you know, and again, don't get me wrong, like, I've played games, you know, previously, you know, the whole time, but there was this something about that feeling of actually completing something after, you know, several tries, where it felt really good. And I think that's where it kind of clicked as like, this is how I'm going to, commemorate or sort of, respect the story of my father. It's going to be through a video game. And that's essentially where it all clicked,
Yeah, yeah, and let's talk about that, man, because I know you have a studio. Before this, you did a lot of side projects and stuff like that. Why was it important to work on this game for you, man? Because I know, and also getting the right people, the right team to be part of this project too. Like, how was the process of that for you?
It was tough. Like I think like in the sense of like finding the team, like building a studio from scratch, like an actual game studio from scratch. It's a lot of work, man. It's tough, but at the same time, I just really, I loved the journey of it all. It was important for me to kind of, to do this because, again, I've been struggling to figure out the best way of communicating my journey of grief in, be it either through film or TV or just anything, right? And even as an actor, the roles that I would do, it was almost like I was playing the character's grief. I was still kind of processing my own. And I felt like because my journey was it felt so isolated, and it was only until, I'd say like 5 years until I actually started talking about it and started actually accepting the fact that I need to talk about this. I felt like, I wonder how many people are actually going through that same process, that similar process of keeping it in and harboring it in and feeling like I can't share this with anyone. And yeah, it just felt like this was the right thing to do. Again, my father introduced me to games. He brought me, he shared with me this, or allowed me to love games. When, many parents at the time when I was growing up, the idea of a game is a waste of time. You know what I mean? So, whereas for me, my father was really, really open about that. And I think like, that's what really drove me to essentially push to make something really, really cool and awesome, and also something that's respectful of not only him, but also my journey, but also everyone else's journey of grief in that sense. Because this is something that we're all going to go through, be it either through losing, as I say, like a parent or even a friend or a pet or even a job, like that journey of grief is universal, no matter who you are. And I think like it was just really, for me, it was really important to kind of show that and represent that in the most honest way possible.
Yeah, that's why I'm really excited to finish the game and learn more about the world. And now for you, because something that you just mentioned about like how back in the days people will see gamers back then as like a bad thing, like they will call it nerds and all this stuff, like, oh, you're wasting your time. And I remember hearing that back in the days, even for me, when I tried to get into the whole podcasting, content creation, because I was doing something totally different at that time. And a lot of folks were like laughing and making fun of me, man. Like, so that was like, for you, there was a lot of that type of negativity back then for you too, growing up.
Yeah, man. Like it was just uncool. It was one of those ones where it was like, playing games is like a nerdy, geeky thing. It's like, it's something that you shouldn't share. And also, and then to anyone, to adults and even to some of my family, it was almost seen like as a waste of time. You know what I mean? Like it isn't going to, it's not going to do anything for you. Like I think, I say this, like I didn't know that you could have a career in games until I actually did Assassin's Creed Origins. I genuinely had no idea how games were made and how, what was going through them, that there were people behind these things. And it was only until I actually, did Assassin's Creed, and it kind of opened the door in regards to making me realize, oh, wow, this is an actual industry. This is a space. This is a place to kind of enjoy, play, and live in. I say, like, if I knew that, I probably would have had a career in games before I was an actor. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that's sort of the whole aspect of it all. Do you know what I mean? It was like, I think growing up it was almost like, again, I say this, I never really connected much with TV or film growing up. And, TV show and like, sort of books were difficult to sort of consume for me because I'm dyslexic. So really games were my only way of kind of escape and enjoyment, apart from, either like going outside and play football with friends or anything like that. But games were my thing. And my father really saw that. And he really respected that. Because again, it was either that or hanging around with the wrong types of people, you know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, like video games saved a lot of people's lives, man. Like, so I guess where you're coming from too, man. Now, I remember a couple months back watching the Game Awards with my wife, and we just there hang out, just getting ready to see the announcements and all this stuff. One of my highlights was seeing you on stage. I think that was like it was a very special moment, and it's rare seeing that in games. Like, I've been going to like events for years, and there's moments, highlights like that scene is very, very small, and your moment up there announcing the game during the Game Awards was very, very special, man. Like, how was that for you being on stage and finally announce the game to the world, man, for you?
Bro,
man? How was
terrifying. It was terrifying. It was surreal, like totally surreal. I think, I had no idea what was going to happen, or I had an idea of what I was going to be saying, but I genuinely had no idea what was going to happen. And I've seen the Game Awards, as I said, since I was like younger. Like, I've watched, the Game Awards was my thing, because you'd see new games announcements, and there's a lot of games out there. So to kind of try and stand out in front of all them lot, like, it was a lot, and they're all incredible games. So then when it came to actually getting on stage and announcing it, it almost like it all became very real. Like, it all became like this whole process of making this game, of getting the EA deal, like, it all became real as soon as I stood on that stage, because at the time beforehand, this was something that we were building, behind closed doors. And yeah, we were building it, but no one knew about it apart from maybe like, a few friends or family. But it really did become a real thing as soon as we stood on that, as soon as I stood on that stage and told the world, like, this is what we're building, this is why we're building it.
Yeah, were you there by yourself, or you went there with the team?
I went there with the team. Like, the team was there. Like, I mean, like I'd say the team, EA team, really, essentially, and Dana, who's our marketing sort of manager, as well as my wife, my daughter, and my sister-in-law. Like, but bro, man, it was very surreal, very surreal.
And I bet your dad probably saw that too, man. Being proud of you,
man. It was honestly, I can't even express. Like, I've been on stages before. I've had cameras in front of my face. I've worn.
Yeah.
I've done.
It's a different feeling. It's a different vibe.
This is so different, man. This is like, there was just something unreal about it. Yeah, it was crazy. It was so crazy.
Yeah, no, this is good, man. And I'm glad that to see EA really, really pushing your project, like promoting this everywhere. I've seen that you've been doing a lot of interviews and everything too.
Yeah,
it's really cool to see that. I think this game is going to create a really big buzz, man, when it comes out, man. Like, and I think it's going to be very positive. And that even when we played the demo, a lot, the previews, everything, the impressions has been great, man. So yeah, it's really cool.
Honestly, the feedback has been really, really good, and even the feedback from the community of people who've been playing it, it's all been because they want this to succeed, and I've really felt that, and like and we've all really felt that, and it's just been, honestly, it's been such a magical experience, man. Like, it's just been one of those ones where I feel very lucky and very blessed to have, essentially been welcomed with open arms from everyone, and across the pond, and it's just been surreal. Like, even after the Game Awards and announcing it, all the interviews that have come into place, like this feeling of, like, not only just being supported by, like, for example, like PlayStation, but also Xbox, Nintendo, like even Valve. Like, there's been so much support for this, and I think it's because, again, it's that whole thing of it's touching to to people in regards to it's about the art form of it all. You know what I mean? It's about essentially the celebration of life through a game, rather than just, putting out just another game out there,
Mm-hmm. Now, in the beginning, when you started coming up with the idea to work on this project, was it always wanted to do a Metrovania style game, or do you have like different concepts of like, oh, we should do this, we should do that, or not?
No, I mean, so the way it kind of worked out was, I knew that I knew what I wanted the story to be. I knew what the theme was, essentially grief, and it was about the journey of grief rather than necessarily grief itself.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it came to picking the genre, it was always a Metroidvania. And that was because, to me, the Metroidvania genre is the perfect encapsulation of what grief means. You throw a character into the middle of nowhere where they feel almost powerless. They have no idea where they are. There's threats everywhere around the corner. The tools that they will, gain along the journey are essentially, they've always been there. You've just got to find them in order to kind of, use to get past the obstacles that you'll face constantly. And then also, the important factor as well is, and this is really specifically what I find with Metroidvanias, is the longer you spend time in it, the more comfortable you get of the space. And that's essentially what grief is, right? The longer it's never going to go away, and you'll never necessarily master it. But the longer you spend time in it, the more you kind of get used to it, the more comfortable you are with it, and the more you learn to live with it,
Yeah, and I know earlier you mentioned about Ori, right? And
yeah,
look, spoilers, guys. But in the beginning, right in the beginning, there's a moment where that was like heartbreaking.
It was heartbreaking,
and that was just within seconds, a minute or two. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
so even like that, I think, and you're right. I think playing a Metrovania game, you definitely will connect to the world, and I felt that playing your game within minutes. So I think the more people play this game, I think they're also going to be connected to not only the characters but the story, everything, man. I could definitely see that for sure.
Thank you, man. It's been it's been such a blessed process, man. Like I've been honestly, I've really enjoyed it, and don't get me wrong, like it's been tough. Like game dev is tough, right? And we're a first studio, first time learning how to work with one another. Like this is our first game, so there's a lot of pressures there. But we were really solely driven by the idea of wanting to give something out there that meant a lot to us. Pure passion. It was purely led by passion, and I'm just so happy it stuck and landed.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely tell that this is a passion project. More like, of course, business side and everything, but you can tell that it's like a special game, So let's talk about the studio. So tell us the name of the studio and how long you guys been running now.
Surgent
tell us a little
Studios.
bit about the team.
Yeah.
So
Surgent Studios. We've literally been going now for man, like I'd say 4 years. So really, the thing is like I've been doing like, film and everything and whatnot since then. Like and it's been really, it's been really great fun and really, really cool to do. But really, truly, I'd say like this project right now has been the one that we have that's essentially, put us on everyone's radar. I built this team by slipping into so many DMs, bro.
Really, really, honestly, all social media.
Yo, man,
that's wild.
Man, I like honestly, because again, like I didn't know what it meant to build a team. I didn't know what it meant to sort of or what it would take essentially, or how to make a game. Like all I was driven by was this passion, was this idea of wanting to do this thing, and. When it came to trying to recruit people or getting people, learning about this, I was very much of the mentality of learning on the fly. Like it was all I knew was that this is what I wanted to do, and this is, and it had to be done as a video game. Like that's it. And so then everything else kind of came, through, and I feel like I'm still learning. Basically, I feel like I'm still sort of in this space of like, oh, okay. This is how, this is what the poly count is, or this is how you optimize, even just recently, like I didn't even know like the Steam Deck was a thing. And like suddenly, I'm hearing people wanting this game on the Steam Deck. And I'm like, okay, well, as a team, we got to do it. And this is the thing. I feel like I've been very blessed with a team of people, that essentially know that everything that we're doing is driven by love and by this sort of this thing. So we just adapt on the fly. We go with it. We flow with it. And so yeah, man, it's been like the we're 4 years in, and we've really honestly just started to find our groove and get our groove going. And yeah, man, it's just been like a very wild process, and look, don't get me wrong, I think we're all, it's a team of like about 30 of us now, and
Wow.
we're all building, and thinking about what's next and where to go next, but we're loving it, man. And like we've all got the same drive of wanting to make an impact and change in the industry. Like we want to set a good example, we're new, we're fresh, we're young, and we're hungry,
Yeah, and it's wild that you mentioned about Steam Deck, because that's how I started playing the game first. Was on
No
Steam Deck.
way.
Yeah. Before, because I have a widescreen, PC. I have consoles and everything, but usually I always play on my computer. But I think playing on the go, man, I love it. It's so
dope,
easy for
bro.
me. Yeah, so easy.
That's
yeah, man.
dope.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm surprised you didn't know about the Steam Deck.
Yeah,
Steam Deck is
honestly,
awesome.
this is the thing. Like it was,
Yeah.
I think it must have crossed my radar. But it didn't necessarily land until people started talking about it. Do you know what I mean? And people were, started asking for it. And again, we were thinking like, we've hit all platforms, but the Steam Deck is a thing. Like it's a thing. Yeah. And I think like, even by that, I ended up getting myself a Steam Deck, and I love it, man. It's like it's an incredible console. So yeah, it just was. It was really funny to be like, oh, okay, cool. This is something that we need to kind of build. And again, I put that all down to the team, because the team genuinely they know how much this means to each and every one of us, and that's because again I built this team and came across this the people the key people in this team with this mentality of like, I'm not an Ubisoft or an Epic. Like we're an indie studio, we're a small studio, and even though we've got the EA Originals backing, it's not EA, it's just the Originals team. So we're all kind of trying to, we're led here by passion, by a sense of wanting to respect the art. It's all on us, and I'm so thankful for that, man. So thankful.
I mean, let me tell you, Abu, like just seeing the process of like how the game was announced, and seeing also your team during like the presentations or the preview for like the content creators and journalists and stuff. Like you guys started really strong, really strong. Having the right game, the right partner, the right announcements throughout the past couple months. Like for an indie company, you guys started really strong, man.
Oh,
really
thank
strong.
you, man. Thank you.
Yeah. Especially seeing how much people are so excited for this game to come out, man. That's in a couple of days. But I was gonna ask you, like, was there anything that surprised you of reading, from like the gamers or maybe reading stories of gamers once they learned more about your game? Was there anything that surprised you? You're like, oh my god, this is awesome.
I think it was just how welcoming everyone was, and just how like again it was that whole thing of, because look, I'm a gamer myself, right? And like whenever I see a new game announced, I'm like, okay, cool, but where's the game?
That's
I gotta try I gotta see what the game is like. I gotta play the game. I gotta see it. But like even when it came to because we wanted to push pre-orders, for example, we wanted to get people pre-ordering and everything, and what was so great was like people were doing it. People were like, we we believe in your vision, and that. Honestly, that pre-ordering, the numbers even, shocked EA. Like it was like to a point where it was like, wow, okay, maybe pre-orders are a thing. You know what I mean? Like it's, and I think that's because people genuinely cared and wanted to show support. And that's the thing. You'd be surprised by how supportive the actual industry is. Like Twitter ain't necessarily the best place in regards to kind of representing the games industry.
Yeah.
There is so much out there, and there are so many people out there who just want you to win. And I think like that's what's that's what's been really lovely. That's what's been really shocking in a way. Just the level of support that we've got.
Yeah, and you know what? I even forgot to ask you, man. Tell us a little bit about the main character in the game, man.
Oh man.
And I was going to ask you a question after that, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
So Zhao is essentially Zhao was a creation of again, it was that whole thing of like, I didn't want to represent myself specifically. I almost was pulling from a shade of myself. The difference between, for example, like Zhao and me is kind of in the sense of like, I know the reality of what I live in. Whereas Zhao is almost in a space of like, nope, I'm determined. I know what I want to do. I know I can bring my father back. This is what I'm going to do. And he's very kind of, not necessarily, he's led by his emotions. He's almost what I wish I kind of was to a degree after I lost my father, being so open with my emotions. At the time when I lost my father, I shut off. I closed down. I didn't want any, I was almost like, nope, it's all cool. It's what it is. And I'll just keep going forward. Whereas Zhao's like, no. This is how I feel. This is what I'm feeling. And I need to act on this. And that's essentially what Zhao is to me. Like, he represents the sort of this defiant sort of person who's driven to get what he wants. But at the same time, even then, the extreme element of it, he will learn a big lesson as to maybe that isn't not always the way to go to go through.
Yeah, and I know Zhao, you can switch different masks. Now, the blue and also orange represents the sun. Now, which of those masks represents you?
Oh, probably the sun, man. Probably the red mask. Because again, like, for me, that's, even though, whenever when I told the team about, what I wanted to kind of encapture with the sun mask, it was all about this almost chaotic fury, this movement, this dance, this kind of sense of like, high risk, high reward kind of element. And I think like that's kind of how I go about life. You don't go in with a plan. You go with it and the plan comes afterwards. It's like, for me, that's I'd say is definitely my vibe. Whereas like the moon mask is almost like something, probably what everyone says I should be like.
Yeah.
Like surgical, calculated, know where I'm going and where I'm placing the shots,
Yeah, I mean, but people, for those that haven't played the game, the moon and the sun, it plays, when you wear those masks, it plays very different. Some of them is very quick pace. Some other one might be a little bit slower, but we'll get also high damage. That's why. Yeah. So now, I mean, there's going to be cases you're like, I'm going to switch. Is it because of the damage? Is it because of the more quick?
It's a dance. It's a balance. I think like it's whatever you're faced with at the moment. Like, I think that's the sort of way that we wanted to approach it. You could play this game technically, fighting all the enemies in one mask. It would just take a very long time. And it's not as simple. It's about this balance, this dance between both the sun and the moon, that will allow you to kind of progress through it in a way that almost feels seamless. Like, that's really truly the secret. The secret is that dancing element of it all. You might do a few shots with your blue mask while you're kind of closing the distance, switch to the red, and then suddenly you've got like, you got things going, switch again back to, to the moon mask and, crowd control kind of elements. So like, this is all part and parcel of it all as the journey sort of progresses.
I know we're almost done here, but I know you worked on Assassin's Creed, doing voice acting there. Now, a couple months ago, actually, was it a couple weeks ago? I can't remember. My time is super off. But I know you guys announced the cast, that also the voice cast there in the game. Now, were you part of this process, like selecting the right people,
everything.
like
everything?
So how was that process for you guys?
It was crazy. It was great because again, I'm in a position where I'm like, I'm selecting the people who, really truly, meant a lot in my life. And the people that I've learned from, like Tristan Lalo, who plays Kalunga, he was actually the first actor I worked with on Assassin's Creed Origins, and he really he was like my guy, like my North Star man in regards to that. Steve Toussaint, who plays Bomani, he plays my father in House of the Dragon. So like, you know, that was really, really cool to bring him on board. And again, he's been really lovely when we've been filming on set. You've got, you know, Dominique Moore, who's just an incredible human being, you know, great friend. She actually doesn't live too far from me, which is, you know, amazing. And like, you know, we're always kind of crossing paths and chatting as a whole. You know, you've got Simona as well. Simona, I recently worked with on a piece of work. It was like a pilot, but what ended up happening essentially is like we just ended up connecting on such a great level. She's, you know, such a brilliant human being. And then Latoya, who plays Mama, she's, you know, South African. She's a Sangoma. So, you know, I went to her to ask for knowledge in regards to sort of what it means to be, you know, what does it mean to be spiritual and like a spiritual sort of healer in you know, in South Africa, essentially. Mm-hmm. And then you got, you know, Abraham, I went to school with Abraham, man. Like Abraham, we go way back. So like, it was really cool to bring him on board too. So yeah, man, it was all cast by me, directed by me as well. It was really cool.
It's stressful.
Yeah, it's stressful. But again, at the same time, I'd say like that process was really enjoyable because it almost felt like this was my moment. I know how to do this.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you're also talking about the African roots, culture. Like I just love that because there's people that, you know, they'll play games and they don't know anything. Like for me, I love speaking about, you know, Latin culture and where my parents are from and all that stuff. So how important was it for you to, you know, to share that to the world, you know, because there's a lot of people that don't know much about African culture.
It was so important because again, this was one of those ones where if I'm going to, you know, represent my father and represent sort of essentially where he comes from and his culture and what he meant to me authentically, it's got to speak from that mother tongue of Swahili and that, you know, of Kenya. Essentially, it starts there and then it branches out to all, you know, to the Bantu tribes. It was really important because for me, that's what I grew up. That's how I grew up, man. I grew up with my family and going to Kenya all the time. Like that's who I am and that's who my father was. And that needed to be, you know, that needed to be shown in order to, again, really pay this ode to him, you know? Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was something that just had to happen that way.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Now we're gonna wrap it up here, and my last question is, you know, how nervous are you?
Oh my God, bro.
The game comes out like just in a couple of days, man. And
I wake up.
Honestly, I'm excited to see the process of like the game is out. I just want to see like people's reaction playing it for the first time. Because, you know, journalists and media, you know, you get the games early, but it's different when it's just the average person playing a game for the first time. Like how you felt playing, you know, Ori and the Blind Forest for the first time, and you know, and all this, you know what I'm saying? So
it's I'm
exciting.
So nervous. I'm like, I'm terrified, man. I am terrified, but at the same time, I'm like, you know what? We've done the best of what we can right now. It's all we can do. It's all we can do.
Gotta celebrate your wins, man. Celebrate your wins for sure, man. And congratulations to you and the whole team. Everyone.
Thank you,
now, for those that want to know more about the game, more information, official date, and the platform, so they could also buy this game.
Yeah, I mean, it's as I say, like it's the official date is the 23rd of April. God, we're coming out the 23rd of April.
Countdown begins. Let's go.
It's crazy. And then you know, we're on all platforms. You know, Steam, which is on PC, Epic Store as well. We're on PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo Switch. Yeah, we're everywhere, bro.
Yeah, there you go, guys. So make sure to support Abu and the whole crew over there, man. So this is gonna be a really amazing time, man, for just gaming in general, man. So I can't wait. Congratulations, man.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.